Hey everybody, it's Aluna Michaels, Esoteric and Quantum Astrologer, coming at you to talk about the events of April 2017. Okay, well, even though Saturn is going retrograde sooner, we're just going to start with the Mercury retrograde. And don't forget about retrograde planets, you guys. This is a time for when planets do go retrograde. It is about internalizing that planet. Like if you have any planets retrograde in your own chart, it's saying, in this lifetime you want to be working with that planet deeper than other planets, maybe. So it has lessons for you and a sense of richness. So a lot of people feel like, especially with Mercury retrograde, but let's talk about that. And like I always say, Mercury is a time about, if Mercury's communicating inward, and it's a good time for meditation. It's a good time for not just fantasizing, but imagining what could be possible, and being able to put that together in a because in your imagination there's no obstacles, and being able to feel yourself in that future and then say, okay, what does it take to get there? That can be part of a Mercury retrograde. Also getting into old stuff in a good sort of way, cleaning things up, tying up loose ends, finishing a book you haven't read, getting in touch with old friends, kind of following up on promises that you let yourself down about, that I'm going to get back and do that. That can all be a part of Mercury retrograde too. Okay, so let's look at the dates of that. So Mercury's going retrograde, let's call it the 8th of April. It's going at 4 degrees of Taurus, and it will go back into Aries, and it will go direct on the 2nd of May at 24 degrees of Aries, if you guys like to know about that sort of thing. And then some people like to know when it catches up with itself again, and that will be on May 20th. It'll then start covering new territory. But especially while it's in Taurus still, let's see, that will be until like the 20th of April. Because Taurus is a planet of going slower, being more thoughtful. That retrograde Mercury can be, and there's a few things I want to talk about this month about self-love, self-care, gentleness, areas where you tend to feel frustrated with yourself, to give yourself extra gentleness and say, why isn't this working? Like say, for instance, you want to be on a diet, you want to lose weight. And it's like, how committed are you to that? Or who wants you to lose weight? Is it because of society? Is it because, you just like to torment yourself about things? Or, making it too hard for yourself to stay on the diet? So that Mercury retrograde in Taurus could be about how can you achieve your goals in a more gentle way? And making sure you have, for a diet, having really tasty food, if it's going to be vegetables or something, making sure you're cooking with spices, or you're having a meal out once a week that offers you some sort of, not like binging, but some sort of indulgence. Praising yourself, praising your body, that it has the capacity to be fit and strong, and that you're moving, and even if you're still working toward an optimal weight, that you're recognizing the things about your body that work, because when Mercury's retrograding in Taurus, it's about gratitude, and gratitude in the right now. And Taurus is so much about the now, once it moves back into Aries, it can be a little more adventurous or a little more challenging yourself, maybe, but once it's the first part of the retrograde, it's like looking at what you are doing right, and how you can make that goal, move toward that goal comfortably. And once you're in a routine, then as it goes back into Aries, you can maybe, kind of up it a little bit, or up the pace or something, where you've gained some confidence that, I can do this, I do want to do this. And making sure you do want to do it, because that's a big thing with Taurus, like that bull, when you try to, when I was a kid, I worked at a barn. I used to ride horses, and then I'd take care of the cows. It was one of my jobs, so I could get horseback riding lessons for free. And I used to have to bring the cows up from the field, and sometimes there was one that didn't want to go, and I was like, like say 10 years old, and I'm like, push the cow, and pull the cow, and they don't want to go, And that can be part of Taurus. It's like, I don't want to lose weight, or I need to be listened to first, or whatever it is. If there's a part of yourself needs to be honored, or and then sometimes that cow, when you just let it go at its own pace, it would get going up the little hill I'd have to take it to, and go into the barn and do what it needed to do, eat its hay or whatever. but it kind of went on its own terms. So just giving it that gentleness and giving yourself that gentleness that, yeah, I do want to be healthy and be at a healthy weight, whatever. And I know I'm moving toward this. I don't have to push myself. And then once you get, like I say, into Mercury retrograde in Aries, it's like you're already moving, and it's like, okay, I like moving, and then that cow goes a little faster or something, So, but let yourself kind of honor yourself about what is the part that's resisting, Okay, so that's the Mercury retrograde. Saturn is also going retrograde, and talk about, being stuck. Gosh, today I'm doing this on the 4th. Is it today the 4th or the 5th? It's the 5th. Sorry, guys. And Saturn is turning retrograde like today. And Saturn is the planet of going slow. So when Saturn's sitting still, especially because it's in Sagittarius, which likes to go, it's like, oh my God, just that sitting. And, as it's turning around, like it has been the past few days, even weeks, and starts going backwards, chugging along a little faster every day, but still kind of slow. Again, Sagittarius is about goals. And, finding out what goal is really true to you. Because Saturn doesn't have to be about being stuck. It's about being determined. And if it's in Sagittarius, it's like those goals that you'll stick with no matter what. And again, a little bit that same theme, if you're not doing something, doesn't mean something to you. If it's even a job, if it's a relationship, where is that meaning? What are your ideals in life? What are your, it is the way you're spending your time day to day getting you, is it in that channel of your goals and your ideals and stuff? And how could something be more that way? If it's in a relationship, being able to talk more about that. It's hard when Mercury's retrograde sometimes with the communication, but again, if it's done with a sense of exploration with the other person, or just exploring ideas about another job, and not needing to jump and make a sudden decision, but even to see how maybe when you kind of think things through that way, there's a way your current circumstances can open up in a different way. So you don't have to change the job or even change the relationship, or even maybe change your body. If we're talking about that, there's a new sense of appreciation and a different approach that, like say if it was the diet, I'm just going back to that there's just something about, loving your body or doing deep breathing or just enjoying being in your body, taking walks and things like this, and you start losing weight automatically without forcing yourself into a regime, So sometimes any of these things about what are my true things in life, if you're about loving others or world peace, but you treat your body like crap and making faces at it, when you see yourself in the mirror or something. It's like, what is that? Where is the, when it's the sign of Sagittarius is about things being in alignment, flowing effortlessly in alignment. So that Saturn sitting still is like, what isn't in alignment here? If it's how you are acting outside should be the way you're treating yourself inside. Or your deep beliefs need to match that relationship you're in, that job you're in, and seeing how that can, again, expand differently, And you might make changes externally, like get the new job, get the new relationship. But first see if it can be handled within the circumstances. And that can be some of the frustrations with Saturn sitting still, that you kind of want to just make the change and you're stuck. But it's like maybe you're stuck because the answer is right there, and just using April to kind of look at that. And then again, once Mercury goes into Aries, and then even goes direct in Aries in May, maybe that's the time to make the changes if they're needed to be by going outside of your current circumstances. But it's kind of like a month of patience, and seeing what magical things can pop up in what you already have. So then, and back on that same theme, Venus is going to go direct. Venus was, I want to tell you, Saturn stays retrograde till the end of August. And just a note on that sort of thing, let's just say with Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, they go retrograde once a year, direct once a year. So the big deal is kind of when they're turning direction, not that they are retrograde, because they're basically all retrograde half the year, more or less. So don't worry about them being retrograde. It's just the turning direct and turning retrograde that creates some sort of need to pay attention to them in that manner. So Venus, being a littler planet, is not retrograde for very long. It went retrograde at the beginning of March, and it's going direct middle of April on the 14th of April. And Venus is, again, about love. It's also about money. There's a lot of just circumstances around money clearing up, Because Venus went retrograde in Aries and then back into Pisces. Venus in Aries can be spending money too quickly or impulsively or with things that are just sort of quickly forgotten. And the retrograde can say, what do I really want? Do I need these things? And kind of rethinking your budget and stuff like that. It could also be in relationships, about looking at deeper things in relationships instead of just petty irritations and I really love this person. Why am I picking on them about this little thing? It doesn't even matter. Or ways you can rejuvenate a relationship, Venus being retrograde in Aries. Seeing yourselves, like, say you've been married 20 years, like, what's it like if you thought, I'm on a date with him or her? How would I be different? How would I enjoy them more? And that could be part of a Venus retrograde in Aries too. And also a sense of self-love. If you saw yourself from the outside, you're a pretty nice person, and what if you, met yourself and became friends? Like, I like that person, So Venus retrograde can be revisiting that sense of love, and that idea that it is in Aries is like that first time, and that way you first encounter someone and you can bring that love to yourself or toward the people around you, or even a sense of gratitude. Like, it's funny, I live in Florida, and I met this guy we were going on a boat, and he was renting us the boat, and he said, when he first moved to Florida and he saw dolphins, he was like, wow, dolphins. And he said, his mother and sister came and took them out, and they were like, oh my God, dolphins. And this guy was like, well, whatever, dolphins. He's like, what am I doing? I don't even take dolphins for, go wow when I see dolphins anymore, and I'm not grateful for them. And I think that's funny. Like, I live here in this paradise, and I can just walk around and forget, oh my God, look at this beautiful wildlife, or these trees, or, wherever you live, what are the beautiful things? So Venus and Aries can be like seeing things for the first time again and not being jaded, and loving your environment, loving being your own skin, loving your family, all of this kind of thing. So, and then when it goes back into Pisces like it did just for, let's see when it went back into Pisces. That was the very beginning of April, and it's going back into Aries like the 29th. It's even more of that sense of appreciation and love and kindness and self-love and compassion. So that Venus going direct again, just focusing on that sense of excitement and enthusiasm and loving what you have, and then it feels like it becomes more, Now the other thing is, one more thing. Venus will catch up with itself. A lot of people ask me about that. It went retrograde at 13 degrees of Aries at the beginning of March. So it gets back there like the 19th, 20th of May. But just that idea of any planet going direct, sometimes people like to wait till it catches up and all of this, but it's just that once it goes forward is enthusiastic, and you can kind of grasp onto that energy too. And by the way, about relationships with Venus going direct, it's a great time to be in a new relationship, or if you're in a current one, how it feels, again, feels refreshed, and that's just sort of nice in general. Then the other thing is that Mars is going into Gemini, and that's on April 21st. So Mars is in a sign for about 2 months, and Mars in Gemini can be about looking at communication, communication style, just doing basic sort of stuff that is, like I was talking about with Mercury retrograde, getting, old paperwork out of the way, or, old emails sorted through, reconnecting with the old friends. Mars and Gemini can be a similar thing. About Mars is where energy is, and Gemini is communication, writing, calling, being friendly, this sort of thing. And just trying new things too can be Mars and Gemini. And even trying on new affirmations, even if it seems goofy or far-fetched or whatever. It's like, how does it feel, to be thinking these new thoughts, and how does that empower me? Can be part of Mars in Gemini. So those are the main things about this month. And just hang in there, because retrogrades don't have to be frustrating. Sometimes, again, this past few days could have been because with Mercury and Saturn sitting still. But it's almost like a preparation for depth, like before you go in the water and you go, and nothing's really happening, but you're preparing. So it's, instead of feeling frustrated, I think I'm preparing to have this depth and this sort of traveling inside and seeing how much, again, my life already has for me. that I am not using these resources well enough, and I can find a way to feel empowered in what I have and then add to it from there. So if you'd like to do a session with me, it's alunamichaels.com is my website. My cell phone is 248-583-1663 if you want to call or text to make an appointment. And have a great month, and I'll see you later. Bye for now.